Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faith Family Grind EDC. My name is John Anthony. I am so fired up, and I've been anticipating this for a while. I have a special guest that we will be talking about his testimony and his story. He's a man of God and a warrior for humanity. I'm about to play a video for you to share with you who he is, and afterwards, I hope you enjoy our video. Thank you.
My name is Dennis Price. I served about 17 years in the Marine Corps, 15 years active duty, Force Recon, Scout Sniper, Ranger, JSOC. I say all this because at one point in my life, it meant so much to me, those titles. Probably the greatest title I ever had was being a father. I joined the Marine Corps about 17 years old. About 16 years ago in Iraq, I was a machine gunner. We were doing a convoy operation from Fallujah to Ramadi, just like we did hundreds of times before. We were coming up through the city of Ramadi, and we were coming up under an underpass through a bridge. Once you go under the bridge, you switch lanes. The first vehicle goes, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. The next vehicle goes. He ran over a IED, and it kicked off what changed my life for the worst. The vehicle in front of me gets decimated, a rocket flies in between me and the vehicle, and then it kicks off this ID initiated ambush. To my left, to the southeast of the city of Ramadi, we started getting shot at, and all we could see was muzzle blast through the city. After watching that moment of my buds just getting destroyed, I was so mad, I was so angry. I wanted to kill every single person there that day. We were trapped on the X for what seemed to be eternity. From there, I struggled through life and walked through life. I feel like I couldn't feel anything but bitter hate, rage. I had two modes. I was either pissed off or super pissed off. And I let that fire within me consume my life. I started trying to replace that hole inside me, in my spirit, with anything that I could fill it with. At the time, it was like, since I pushed out God from my life, he was always there. I just thought he had no place in war. Whenever I came back, I would try to get back into religion, back in the church, and it worked for a little bit. I did 7 back-to-back deployments in the Marine Corps, and then I did 6 more in the private military contracting world. I was chasing the high, trying to fulfill what that void left in my soul. I slowly allowed God back into my life. And then I always went back each deployment to pushing him back out. My youngest daughter, she was born with 2 rare diseases, Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome, BWS. I thought my life was over. I thought the world was crashing down on my shoulders. When I got handed that $1.2 million bill from Amelia's Medical, that was my solution. It was that my family will get $400,000 or $500,000. This was my answer. Like, this was my fault. My family would be better off without me. I eventually let the devil into my head so much that there was no other logical thought in my head. He convinced me, and there was not a solid reason past that to take my own life. At this point, I was in my basement working out and biking for like an hour. I eventually picked up the phone after a couple hours, and I called one of my close buds and friends. In my head, I was like, this is not a false promise. Like, I can't think of one solid reason not to blow my brains out right now. Maybe he can give me one reason. He didn't pick up. I called again. He was out traveling. All else was white noise. I couldn't think of a single reason not to do it. Hour 3 or 4 goes by, and I'm still staring at the gun. One last thought goes through my head, and it's a random statistic I read, and it says, if a parent commits suicide, your children then are 10 times more likely to then commit suicide. And I'm sitting there like, wow, I can't believe that's what just randomly popped in my head. So as all these statistics are racing through my head and I have the gun in my hand, I'm like, man, I cannot fake it. I can't hack it one more day to give my kids a better life. I can't even do that one last time. I put the gun down and I go in and I put on Cornerstone TV, which is a church channel, and I'm like, man, I'm so messed up right now. I need help. I go seek help through counseling and everything, and go back to what I know. You know, just like everyone's baseline, just like zeroing a sniper rifle or anything like that. I needed zeroed in life. I had to go back to a baseline. And what is that baseline? It's Christianity. It's the church. I don't care if I have to work every hour of my life. I will pay off this $1.2 million debt. I will figure out a way to do it and give my family the father they deserve. I got out and joined, what used to be called Blackwater, and I started government contracting through different contracts, OGA ones to just various different ones. I was walking down the hallways, and all of a sudden, it felt like I got struck by lightning. And that is the best way I always try to describe it. Every hair on my body was standing up. And that's the first and only time I ever heard the audible voice of God. And he says, you have to go save them. I was like, what? What's going on? And I go down the hall, and I turn on the TV, and I see Afghanistan, Kabul, all about to fall. And this is before it fell. My rebuttal was, what can I do? And the next response was, anything. Within one day, I had a family who had 6 children. I got given a family. I got given a mission. I got given a timeline saying in 6 days, their oldest daughter, who's 14, and their youngest, and their second daughter, who's 11, are going to be raped and sold off to the Taliban. And with God's power and everything like that, within 24 hours, I owned a 50-acre compound in Alaska. 24 hours after that, I had a 6-man joint special operations team. 24 hours after that, I had a plane, and I had access to go in Afghanistan. On the 5th day, we rescued his family out of Afghanistan. That changed my life. From that moment, immediately rescuing them, I got shifted all of these missions. In 2 weeks, I was able to save 55 Americans out of Afghanistan. What now is formed as Save Our Allies. I got invited for that, and then that's when I met Chad Robichaud, and he heard what I was doing and what I did, and he offered me to go on a 2-man unsupported operation to cross into Afghanistan and save remainder Americans and provide routes out of Afghanistan. I said, well, this is God's calling. 2 weeks later, we went to Afghanistan, we went to Tajikistan, and we eventually was able to save, about 82 American and vetted interpreters out of Afghanistan. I say that all because this is not my story to tell, this is God's story. He used me, a broken man, used my life skill when I convinced myself years ago that I was here as God's war vessel. It was just that slight shift from going from taking lives to saving lives. It changed my life. I now dedicate my life to serving God, serving the Lord, and using my skill set to helping others and serving others. Now I work at Mighty Oaks. I go around and help other veterans. I help them deal with same exact things I am. And I go around the world and just try to help people out, because that's ultimately what we're here for.
Welcome everyone to Faith Family Grind EDC. I'm John Anthony, your host, and today I'm fired up. I have a special guest with me today. He's a man of God, and he is a warrior for humanity. His name, Dennis Price.
Thank you for having me on.
I wanted to thank you for yesterday. What I got from you is your passion for God, your story, the events, and how everything came back to glorify God. And with that said, I actually have you a little something for you. Here you go.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, you're more than welcome to open it up, take a look at it. Something we spoke about.
Yeah.
And in the version that you mentioned.
Yeah, the NIV Bible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I was like, if there's ever a time where you are in an area, good or bad, you have something, and I think the most powerful weapon is the Word of God. And there it is. So I hope it comes in handy for you, and you keep it close. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. I was going to share with you, after having that conversation yesterday, was what this channel is all about. Faith, who you are, your love for God, family, of how much you love your family, and grind. Man, I don't know if they understand how hard and how much you do. I mean, I'm blessed to have you sitting in front of me right now, because I know you're a busy man, and thank you for that. But you always make the time for God. That's what I love. And EDC, Everyday Carry, it's what you do. You have your own company, which we'll get involved with, that takes the fundamentals and trains others to be safe and smart if they do decide to carry or they have weapons at home. What I like to do right now, if it's okay with you, is really go into detail about, I like to call it the halls of Blackwater, and your time where you felt that audible voice, and then we'll go from there.
I'll pick it up where, as my life was crashing down at a point where I felt and was fooled to think that I had no other choice but to take my own life. As I started picking up the pieces, reining it back to what was true, and that's God, and my knowledge of the Word, and honing back my family, and focusing on that. You'll hear me a lot of times always refer things in the sniper world, but like I was resetting my zero of my rifle back to what was true when my scope was reading false things. So as I started getting into the church, I left the military right before 15 years, before early retirement. It was like, okay, what do we do? Like, man, guys like us with 15 years special operations at that time. I think it was like 6 deployments. What do I do? Like, Walmart doesn't care if I could shoot someone from a mile away and like run 3 miles in like 18 minutes. Like, they don't care about that stuff. So what do I do? Like, and how do I pay off that debt? So obviously I joined what used to be called Blackwater as a sniper, to 6-figure job to start, to take away from that. And that's where I felt was pulling me. And around that time was when I was I don't even know, what year was that? 2021, like September, October, August timeframe. I was walking the halls of Blackwater, and that's when, like I said, I heard the audible voice of God, and it felt like I got struck by lightning. Every hair on my body was standing up. Every fiber on my being was tingling, and I heard a voice, and it says, "You have to save them." And I was like, "What's going on? Like, what?" So I walk around the corner. I turn into a room, and I see the TV, and it's Kabul, Afghanistan, about to fall. And like my first thought was I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And the next voice came and said, anything. I was like, Roger, like, hey, I got given a mission, I get given a task. How can I do this? So how do we do it? I knew 10 people. I called those 10 people. Those 10 people knew 10 people. And it just immediately spiraled into this massive thing that within 24 hours, I got a phone call from a lieutenant colonel, Ranger Regiment retired, who had a 50-acre compound in Alaska and had a family of, I think, 6 Americans, dual citizen of Alaska and Afghan, who were trapped in Kandahar and had 6 days, I think it was 6 or 7 days, until their 14-year-old daughter and their 12-year-old daughter was going to be forcefully sold off and raped to the Taliban. And we got given a mission, we got given a timeline of 6 days, and immediately was like, okay. So we started running at full speed. Like I said, I called 10 people, and quickly I was getting calls left and right for support, to missions, to everything. We owned a 10-acre compound in Alaska. We started training. We started pulling all the different 6 different special operators together, from Navy SEALs to Green Berets to Force Recon to a few OGA people, and now we came together. We have mission now. Now people are starting to flood towards us of tasks to ITG, initial terminal guidance, people into the gate, produce OSINT, open source intelligence, and just start route reconning people and moving people. And on the 5th day, we were able to get that family out of Kandahar with all the daughters 1 day before they're raped and sold off to the Taliban, and then 45 minutes before Abbey Gate blew up. And we got that one out. Right when we got that first family out, just all missions shifted over us, and then it was just boom, boom, boom. All assets and everything just got shifted, and we started in 2 weeks. We got 55 people out, and then that's when I was standing in DC briefing members of the government to form what was now called Save Our Allies. That's how I started Polaris, which originally started in the LLC world, so that if I went to Afghanistan and I went to go save, these either Americans or SIVs, special immigration visas, that if I went to go save you, I mean, it's war, it's Afghan. It's extremely dangerous, but if you die, now they sue me and take my house and everything like that, when all I did was try to go out and rescue. So I was like, how can I get protected? Well, limited liability. So I started Polaris Group, Polaris, the North Star, just like slavery. People followed the North Star to get to freedom. So I created, I named it as Polaris. Also, we had a 50-acre compound in Alaska, so that's why the polar bear is so significant. And then we were bringing people to freedom, and we were the beacon of hope. So I started Polaris like that way, and then, like I said, 2 weeks we saved 55 people, and then that's where standing in front of like Congress and forming Save Our Allies, Chad Robichaux, Tim Kennedy, Sarah, and a whole bunch more amazing individuals. That's when Chad Robichaux and myself then went and did a 2-man special operations mission behind enemy lines, covered 90 miles of border reconnaissance, and then swam into Afghanistan and saved more, ultimately getting 77 Americans and trapped special immigration visa Afghans out, and only through the grace of God were we able to do anything. It's such an amazing miracle, because it's God's miracle, and we're just so happy to be a part of it. And I say that not where you hear the cliche term of it's a miracle, but truly with events falling in a place and in a time exactly when they should have. That it was a miracle in itself how everything panned out, all to save all these other lives, and in the name of God, and it was amazing. And we all had just a call. And I've never met Chad. I didn't even know who he was until we met. And everyone there had their own call from God to why they're doing it. And it was just amazing story. And then the great thing is it didn't stop there. We then a year or so later, Ukraine kicked off. Then we started doing this, similar things to Ukraine and helping out people there. So ultimately, I stepped in this life of human rights activist, evangelist, and humanitarian, where I feel that God has truly called me to go and and it tells us in the Bible. It says the religion that our God, our Father, calls us to do is to look after the widows and the orphans, and not to succumb to the evils of this world. That's what it says in the Bible. So if that is the religion that our God calls us to do, is look after the widows and the orphans and not succumb to the evils of this world, it is our job and duties and responsibilities as men, as warriors, as believers in Christ, to do anything and everything to protect our families, and then not just our families, but our immediate communities. If everyone just did that, the world would be a way better place.
I agree. Now, if we go back on your first mission where you felt that audible voice, was there anything in that particular mission that really God showed you, maybe either it be the I know every day there was something godly showing, but was there a time when you were there that something could have went away, and then you're like, all right, God, that's you. I know that's you.
I mean, almost the whole time when we were we like I said, we did 90 miles of border reconnaissance through infested Taliban areas. There's Russian KGB or FSB, whatever they're called now. There was like I said, Taliban, Tajik guards. There's Chinese soldiers on the border, and there's just regular Russian armed militants all up and down there. You're just walking through the gates of hell, and so there was, to say one point, dude, from the moment we stepped off to the moment we came back, he had a grasp on us the whole time. So, and it was so amazing because just surviving and doing those movements alone. Okay, for example, one of the times I actually really like this. I love telling these stories when there's a funny picture that's involved. So I just recently started taking pictures after 13 deployments now. Well, and then it was time for me to get out after 15 years, and my kids are like, Daddy, I always hear these stories of you in the military. How come you don't have any pictures? Oh, I want to see why were you gone all the time? I want to see some of that stuff. So now the last 3, 4, 5 deployments I've really been focusing on taking just for when you're sitting back when you're old to your kids to share that. So me and Chad are in Afghan, and we were doing this 3-mile movement on the border and through the Panjshir River Valley, and it was horrible, harsh terrain. And they warned us beforehand that there's just landmines plagued up and down the place. There's people with night vision goggles. There's Russian KGB snipers or FSB snipers in the valleys, and and they're gonna all this other stuff. And and we were doing this like 3 mile movement through this crazy terrain, and then like on like mile 3 like look up and there's this hilarious sign, and I would love to show you. I'll send it to you after this if you want to play it on the podcast. And it's this extremely animated like yield looking sign, like a triangle yellow one, and it has a stick figure like blown up in the air because he stepped on this land, and we look up and it's a landmine sign, and we're like, oh my god. And we just did like 3 miles on this trek of this landmine field. So it's like, you know, to say like, oh, God was like that was one of the times. The next one was like when I was getting shot at by that Russian sniper. That was I hear, you know, and that was in one of the videos that I think it was Congresswoman Hartzler. She read to Congress about that story of when I was getting shot at by that sniper. That I think that was a massive blessing, because the first round was like just 2 feet over and 2 feet to the right. You know, it was that simple, and it was like 800-meter shot. And some people were like, "Oh, if that sniper would," I'm telling you, I'm a sniper and a special forces sniper and sniper instructor, and like that's still a hard shot, crosswind through a valley. But like people are like, "Oh, it was a warning shot." I'm like, dude, those aren't what like that's that was a very good, extremely well placed, just slightly adjusted one, and that's why, you know, I started making movement and got out of there. And the second shot was like well further away because I'm moving now and, you know, adjusting. But that was another, you know, massive God thing in itself too.
And I think there was a time too where you guys took turns, and probably there was sleep or no sleep, but you guys stayed on the side of the hill.
Yeah, almost every night. Like
Wow.
so we were just running just massive amounts of operations, and it all blended together. So it was like it was crazy. You know, Chad covers it really well. He's like, he says, never did we at any point did we get tired? Did we feel exhausted? You felt like you were clear thinking the whole entire time, and you were just like, that's why I said like God truly had his hand the whole entire time through there. So every once in a while we had to sleep on the side of a mountain and just have like fire watch, just me and him sleep in there, and hopefully like while they're out there looking for us that we wouldn't get captured, you know. Later on, like months and months later I actually suffered extreme PTSD and wake up multiple times a night thinking on the same thing and holding my breath in my sleep thinking I was going to get captured. Yeah, it spiraled out of control after I came back months later. But on the side of the mountain, like we were like maybe sharing an hour or maybe 2 a night, and it was really like, hey, it's your time to sleep now I'm on watch. But really like something would shift and you'd be like and like you would just look over just to see that guy wide awake too, you know. So yeah, it was wild times. It was crazy wild times.
Now, did at any points during that time that you guys were together, because if I'm correct, Chad is also a believer of God, really strong
Massive
faith,
believer,
massively, yeah. Were you guys every time found yourself praying together at night, or reading the Bible together at night, or just?
I think he shared a daily devotion through his cell phone, but praying, yeah, we prayed. It was in the airport before we went over, and then you know, multiple times a day. Like, I mean, I'm always praying, but like so was he. But I would say almost once a day we would pray before something big would happen. You know, I remember specifically whenever I went up on the ridge line to get a better vantage point for this area that we were going to swim across Afghan to get those people. When I was getting shot at by the sniper, he was down by our safe house area, and that's when he said he really had a come to Jesus moment and read off one of his favorite passages to help calm his mind and place him, because he hasn't been to Afghan since I don't know how many years ago, but when he did 8 deployments, you know, it pretty much sparked of who he was after that, because he suffered from severe PTSD, and like his whole life changed. I mean, that's the stem of Mighty Oaks, was all from Chad's experience from there and how it changed his life and changed his family. And now he's right back in the river valley, in the Panjshir River Valley, reliving some of that, and he was not alone. And I don't mean me, because I was on top of that mountain, you know.
Yeah.
He was not alone. He was there in the serenity of God, and he was praying, and he truly found peace, and which is awesome, because all the great things we did and all the lives that were saved, I think a big life that was saved was a piece of his mind and a heart in that river valley that day, you know.
I know that you mentioned in one of parts of the video about a convoy coming y'all's way, and that sound yeah.
Yeah, it was a 42 vehicle convoy of Russian tanks, not tanks. It was BMRs and BMTs and all that, and it was terrifying. Like, so one of our guys who we sent back early, maybe just like 15, 30 minutes up the road, he immediately calls us and sends this picture on the side of the road of this convoy heading towards our position now. And that's when we had to conduct a E&E, which means escape and evade. We had to break contact, get out of there, and just run for our life across the country, and like, you know, being tracked by the Russians and signals intelligence and being tracked by your phone. Like, we got, you know, told, we tried to request a QRF, you know, quick reaction force, and got denied. And just, hey, show up back at this place across the country, and hopefully you're alive. And man, I never pray that someone conducts a E&E escape and evade plan. I don't ever wish that upon like my worst enemies. Like, it was the most terrifying, scary thing, running for your life in a country, like, and just where there's wheeled vehicles, armored vehicles, 42 of them headed to your position. You're breaking contact, you're getting out of there, and now you have to run across and find your way across the country, not just a few blocks over.
Yeah.
Oh, man, and it was a funny story because once we get to this one safe house, to then break off and go to another safe house and then try to get a vehicle up, this vehicle that we got with this driver, within the first like 20 minutes, we just get out of there, out of the city, and we're going up this massive like mountain hill thing, and then just it overheats and breaks down. And still within like, in regards to like the X or the enemy who can get you within like a 20-minute window, like, oh my God. And we're like, by this time, we're like crashing on like our sleep and everything. And like, we have this guy who's like, you know, trying to stay awake too. And he's like veering off the side of the roads, trying to stay awake. And he breaks down on the side of the road. And I'm just like, we are dead. We're so screwed. Another thing, a moment where you're like, this is God. This is one of them. So we're on the side of this like massive mountain on this like highway that like in like at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm like, dude, no one's gonna be here. How are we gonna do this? The cars broke down. Like, I don't speak their language. Like, all this, there's no cell phone signal. There's nothing. The Russians are coming to get us. You know, all this stuff. The gig is up, and so the radiator overheated. So we dump water on it, we pee on it, and everything like that. And the little water that we had left, and it still wasn't enough. Well, let's say like 20, 30 minutes into it, a massive semi truck comes, and the driver flags it down, and they just happen to have 2 massive jugs of water, and they like fill it in, and then we just take off again. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe that. And I was only like within like 20 or 30 minutes of breaking down. It was like, dude, I just can't believe that. And like, thank God. And then we eventually, like 4 or 5 hours, or I can't even remember, just barely trying to stay awake. And the same with the driver. He's doing the same thing. He would like bump up, and we were like, oh, and he's like, he'd look over at us, and he was sleeping. He's like, and we were just trying to just get out of there.
The whole book, when you read, it's God moments in the whole book. I mean, they're just your story, and that's what I want the audience to know is this is real life. This is, you know what I mean, to be in those situations alone in another country that you're not wanted, and know that all you can rely on is God. I mean, that's heroic. I mean, just in itself, but it also shows the power of God, and that's when I was thinking about the story of Gideon, because when we talk about the story of Gideon, it really goes into detail about how God wanted to show everyone that it's His glory, not overall the people that won the war. So, you know, I can't remember the exact amount, but 22,000 end up leaving with 10,000, doing it down from 10,000 to 300, and then all of a sudden, you know, God says, "All right, now we're ready," and it just shows. And what's the most interesting part about that story was they didn't go to war with weapons. They went to war with a trumpet and a candle burning that they could, I guess, a glass that they could break and blow the horn. Yeah, blow the horn. And with that, they were so scared that they ended up killing themselves on the way out because it was so chaotic. And then they ended up finding themselves in areas where they were destroyed in different areas. So God, I always believe that he truly, when he wants to showcase his glory, he's going to showcase it. And your whole story, man, is what that's all about. Any other stories you think of that really kind of stand out? That it doesn't really have to necessarily be that particular mission alone, but I know that just going into another country, I'm sure it has to be nerve-wracking. It has to be, you know, you're flying there, just thinking, you know, of. Do you think that, like, when you were in any of these missions that you go on, when you're going, you're in the plane, do you ever, is your mind at ease, or is it in a moment of like, you're like, God, just give me strength and not think of the negative?
Yeah, my wife was like eerily concerned, or like, because she's never really seen me like this. Like she knows I go away from the military and just come back and that's it. Well, when I was mission planning, it was at my house in my living room. So she's just like, she's never really seen me at work like this. And she's like, how are you so calm and so focused? And I'm like, this is relatively easy thing. Like, we've been training our whole lives, our whole careers. The military is focused and gave and spent millions of dollars on us to equip us with this. Like, it was, if you just chalk it up as, and I want to just chalk it up, but like, this was what, why else have we been training this whole time? That I was bringing 17 years of experience just for this moment. So when people, like, I remember when we pitched up the plan to hire and all that, and they were like, we're gonna swim across Afghanistan, we're gonna do a rope bridge, and we're gonna do that, and they're like, what? How are you guys just gonna? And it's like, well, this is a normal thing. Like, why else do we have it in our T&E standards, our training and evaluation standards in the military? You have to do these tasks like once a year or twice a year, and like, so it's nothing complicated. Like, I'm just gonna go over there and I'm just gonna swim and I'm gonna set up this little rope system that we've been doing in the military for decades. And they're like, well, it was like mind blowing of how the simplicity of it was, and it's really not that complicated. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna go over there. I'm gonna try to find the best access I can. I'm gonna try to exploit that access, and I'm gonna try to bring people out of there, and I'm gonna use it by using the training that we've been doing our whole lives. Like, it's crazy because like, it wasn't the sexy like jump, free fall, dive into a mission like where we come out with O2 oxygen at 20,000 feet, and we landed in Afghanistan. We're like, you follow me. None of that. It was just like, I'm gonna walk a ridiculous amount up and down mountains. I'm gonna point to an area and was like, this looks a good spot. I'm gonna swim across it and set up a rope bridge. Wow. Joking and loosely saying that's kind of like how it really was. But each mission, we did debate before when they welded the Kabul gates shut, that we did debate of hey, we're gonna free fall in on the outskirts because no one was allowed in. So that really it hampered saving other people, because now it's welded shut. How else do you get other people? How do you get them safe? Well, no one can land, no one can do whatever. Okay, well, why don't you jump into a unmarked drop zone and just jump into there, skydive in with like you and 3 to 5 guys, and just go and rescue people, and then bring them to the gate, point them to that way, and then just keep heading back out. So that was one of the missions that, and we were approved and supposed to go and do.
Wow.
So
the wife saw you doing a lot of planning, just looking at you, saying, "Man, what is going through his head right now?" I would probably be saying the same thing. Someone who's so calm, getting ready to leave, and actually taking those plans and using those plans when you're there. Did you ever think that the plans that you did, though, did it pretty much go as smooth as the plans that you put down?
Relatively.
Wow.
There was always contingencies, and that's what you plan for. But like, man, like, why else did I go to Ranger School, recon team leaders course, and then be like a team leader through multiple like deployment and all this time? Yeah. Like, man, like I had to write these like 15 to 30 page patrol orders for some crazy wazoo stuff, and now I'm implementing it, and it's not that difficult. Like, you're just taking that 17 and you're just doing it. Yeah. We do it all the time in combat, but when you're in the military, and like when we just did it there, people were like, "What?" And it's like, it's really not that safe. You're doing the thing that we are trained to do your whole life.
Yeah. For the audience, they probably seen a lot of TV shows, and when they do that, they have all these technology all around, and it just seems like you could just pinpoint, put little things here and there. But when you think about somebody who's playing this big mission, and you're in your living room, and but it goes back to what you said. Going back to, I always like to bring it back to God. You went through a whole life of just training, millions of dollars put into you, and then you think about where you're at today and what you were capable of doing. Even though these missions were, I'm sure many people said, were crazy, don't do it, it doesn't make sense. The faith and the belief of believing in God, but also trusting in God that he had you, I mean, that takes incredible faith. It has to be incredible, because I don't think many, I think we talked about it, the man in the barrel. I mean, it goes back to the man in the barrel. People can believe, but do you really trust, being on some type of rope in the barrel? Well, but when it comes to God, that's what you guys did. I mean, it's the best way to look at it. After all that time frame of the rescues, going over there, coming back, where do you think that now in your heart God is leading you now to?
Yeah, after the whole that Ukraine thing, and everyone always asks me, they're like, especially after Afghan, they're like, what are you guys gonna do next? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't feel the call to, and then Ukraine happened, and they're like, do you feel the call to serve there? When it first happened, like immediately, I was like, I just don't feel it, and like I did before. And then something big happened, and then we did a lot of things over there. And now, yeah, I mean, God still, he's doing amazing things in all of our lives, So right now, I'm really focusing on a few different things. So the medical aspect, because almost everywhere we go and everywhere I've been so far, when you're doing precision rescues or anything like that, there's always like blown up, chopped up, butchered up, like kids to people, burnt up, blown up, all that stuff. And I think in the military, they call it TCCC, Tactical Casualty Combat Care. I think the treating combat wounds are pretty easy, but I don't know medicine. So now I'm, going to a lot of, special operations EMT course right now. And then I'll go to hopefully get my paramedic soon. I'll go to additional advanced training for medical stuff, because anytime I try to use it back, if I have this access to all military's most elite stuff, just like I said in my testimony, and when I went from focusing my whole life for like 17 years in special operations, when I went from like taking lives to saving lives, just that 1 degree offset, like this is I didn't send you to like 13 deployments so you can go and be this war machine to spread hate and discontent. I didn't send you to free fall dive and sniper, all this other stuff to do that. No, I sent you it so you can be qualified to go in that far and hard to reach places and reach those hard to reach souls, and spread my word and do my will, because you are my hand and feet. And that's where I really feel called to serve, and I feel that God calls us to serve in that way. The example I gave you before, the religion that the Bible tells us, look after the widows and the orphans and not succumb to the evils of this world. But numerous times, that's where I feel that, we talked about it yesterday. Who were you here with? What country did you? Who sent you? And it's like, I come under the name of the banner of Jesus Christ, and He loves you so much that He sent me and my special operations team to help save you. Because it's important that they know who God is, and that you're here to help. And almost everywhere, and this is why I'm focusing on medical, because every place that I've seen where it needs to be evangelized or help also needs medical. And every place that needs medical help with massive trauma and everything like that typically needs God also. So I think it works hand in hand, and it's a great mission that I'm really focusing on right now. And if that means going through multiple places in Africa to various countries around the world that I can't really say on this, but we have a few missions coming up that are going to be doing amazing things, truly doing like massive amounts of medical care to people who are just being genocided across the world, and that's not okay, And we should not make it okay, like I said before, as believers or anything like that. The fact that what I try to live my life off of, and what I told my wife, kind of Isaiah 6:8 style, you know, who's going to go for us? Who shall we send? And I said, here I am, send me, Isaiah 6:8. Well, another knockoff brand of that is, what I have for Heroes for Humanity. Our main motto is, in order for evil to prevail, good men must stand by and do nothing. So God has equipped us, if it's special operators or if it's just believers, he's equipped us with, spiritual gifts, if that's talents or anything. How do you serve the Lord? Some people go to church and serve the Lord by standing up and praising hallelujah and singing, and that's fine. Like how I praise and be obedient to my God. I'm obedient to the talents and gifts that he gave me to do his will. And that shows, like, I guess to keep going back to what you're saying, is that's what shows my true trust and faith in the Lord, is that from time and time again, I see him every day be so involved in my life and other people's lives, and he's doing amazing things around this world. We just are so clouded by that through television, through social media, through all that other stuff. But man, God is so loud in our lives, we're just earmuffed over it, man. You can't say that God's silent in your life when your Bible's closed.
Yeah, man, that's true. I think we spoke on this yesterday too, but it's just, there's so much more social media, entertainment, I say garbage out there that's taking our focus away from God. If you allow that too much, I believe the enemy will creep in and he will do his job to distract you from God. And I believe that the only way to do is you got to keep your relationship with God. And we talked about this every day, every morning. Every day is a battle. And in some way, somehow, the enemy always tries to creep in. He always does. Some way, somehow, he'll find a way to really start to get in your mind to tell you what you're doing is you're not good enough. He'll bring back your memories of what maybe you weren't your best at and say, you're a hypocrite what you're saying because you're preaching this God, but look who you really are. Or it's just, and if we allow that so much negativity to go in our mind, we start to spiral that direction. We do. And I know I have. And I've just, when I start to feel any kind of way, man, I just pick the word up and just start to read and ask the Lord to give me wisdom and guidance, because I don't want to fall into that situation. It's not a good place. It has never been a good place. And if you could leave the audience, if someone's watching right now, maybe someone who's getting ready to go in the military, or somebody who may even be in the military right now, or maybe someone in the corporate world that are putting the titles in front of them to feel that that's their accomplishment in life, is there any advice you can give them?
Yeah, I mean, I chased that my whole entire life, of my adult life. In one of my testimonies I did at a church, I usually started with I was a Force Recon Scout Sniper Ranger, spent some time at JSOC, like these incredible titles, but it was a big facade. It was, just like in the Bible, it talks about the Samaritan woman. I love that story because what we as human beings have a God-shaped hole in our hearts, and we will try to fill it with anything: titles, power, position, alcohol, drugs, adrenaline, whatever we try to fill that void in our hearts. But really, that God space size hole in our hearts, it can only be filled by one thing. And the Samaritan woman, Jesus tells that woman that the water I provide you will be, you'll never thirst. You'll never thirst again. So anyone chasing titles, I think it's an awesome resume builder. At first, because it gives you skills and everything like that. If you're going to join the military, why not go for the hard stuff like that? But man, watch out. It's a dangerous, slippery slope. And then I would ask, are you going it for selfish, desires? Do you want the title? Or one of my very close friends, Mike Duvall, he's over at a specific unit, and he said someone approached to him and was like, if the Green Berets, if Special Forces didn't have the Special Forces tab or Green Beret, would you still want to do it? Would you still want to be it, go through this 2-year pipeline, have all this crazy, crappy, go through all these hard times and everything like that, have this mission and everything? Would you still want it? And I would ask, anyone who wants those titles and everything, I would ask them that same kind of thing. It was like, if there was no title of, special operator or anything like that, would you still want to do it? And then who are the people that you're going to be crushing into being that? Are you going to have to leave your wife and your family and all of their stuff? Because, man, there's a lot of hearts that get broken just to build, to pave the ways of freedom,
Yeah.
Man, write that one down.
Yeah, I like that. I think about that because, I think a lot of us when we're younger and because the cultures we grow up in, we're put in our head that that's your identity. Whatever you put in front of the title, whatever it may be, can give you your identity. But I think what I learned along my way is what you mentioned, man, is just put God first. He gives you your identity. He tells you who you are. And once you're confident in that, I believe you become free because you're not worried about all the other noises around you, man. And that's some. I'm glad you said that because if somebody is out there and you're hearing this right now, I definitely encourage you to take that advice and like you mentioned, there's nothing wrong with moving up the ladder, but it's just like anything else. Don't let money run your world. If you are given the fruits of the labor, make sure you're doing God's work first, and then whatever you're left over with, then there is yours. But till then, just do God's work. So I'm glad you brought that up.
It's kind of like what the misconception is when people always say, what's the root of all evil? Everyone says money. It's like the money is not the root of all evil. It's the love for money. So if titles are not the root of all evil here, it's the love and the relentless persistent of title chasing. And I say that because, I wasted decades doing the same thing just to fill this void. And, but the greatest title I ever had was being a father. Yeah. And I truly mean that, man. I said it my whole life. I didn't know what I wanted to be in life. I just knew I wanted to be a dad, and anything else I wanted, that was like a job, But like that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah, I think anybody can relate to that. I could just remember my first child, then my second and my third. There's nothing like being a father to just have your own and be able to raise them and raise them well. And like you mentioned, under God's foundation, of course, but man, that's exciting. Now, what I'm really also excited to hear about, and I can't wait to get into this because I think this is important because of what it stands for. But what I'd like to share now is about your Polaris company. I am fired up to hear about what it's about, how it would help others, and maybe break down. I know there's different classes that you can take there. So,
yeah. So I briefly stated when we were doing the Afghan evacs, I had to start a company so that I would be protected, limited liability company, so that I wouldn't get sued for going and rescuing someone if something bad happened. So that's where the Polaris. I love it because not many companies they have a mission, they have a market, whatever, but like what a great story. Like, so, the symbolism behind Polaris, the North Star, because we are bringing these people back to freedom. We swam across Afghanistan to rescue 77 Americans and SIVs who were trapped. We then went to Ukraine. We then went and did multiple missions, and now we're in the counter trafficking realm. Now we go and rescue. We do like one of our primary missions is precision personnel recovery. Like if you are, we call them HVIs, but if you're a high valued individual, if you're a child, if you're someone missing or anything like that people are looking for, we're gonna try and do every single thing. We're gonna try to burn the world down to find that person. So that is how Polaris started. That was one of our primary goals and missions, and it still is. Now we revamped it. We broke away from the original Polaris owners, which was me and another guy, and we kept the title of, now it's Polaris Group International, INC. It's a S corporation, and we specifically still focus on the same exact mission sets. We do personnel precision rescues. We're human rights activists. We go and do humanitarian aid. If that's myriad of different things in that. If that's natural disasters stateside or humanitarian crises globally. to being consultants. We provide consultants for the U.S. government to various other private sectors and security. We have executive protection licenses. We cover down on that, and then all to wrap up in that we also do training. So people who want to get in this game, they have no clue, they didn't serve in the military, or maybe they served 4 years as an infantry, or a cook, supply guy, or an engineer or something like that. They can now go through some of these courses. And me and myself, I use all my decades of different special operations schools I've been to or professionally teach at and certified instructor at, and I'll go and instruct these courses so I can bring you up to speed depending on which ones. And then my COO, Josh Walton, he is a Army Special Forces Green Beret, did deployments to Afghanistan, and me and him, we dual hat. So you get the Marine Special Operations side of things, you get the Army Special Forces side of things, and then we both are decades of combat experience to various different countries, and we're gonna teach you on how we do things on the side of the house, both sides, and then when I worked at Blackwater, so the private side, the DoD side, the Special Operations side, Army, Marine Corps Special Operations, to the civilian sector, and then we're going to bring it all together, and you're going to get all that experience when you're learning pistol, rifle, sniper rifles, whenever you're trying to learn reconnaissance or surveillance that we do for either private investigators, or we tailor stuff like that for military if we bite off on a contract from there, or individuals.
I want to make sure that what they're hearing right now is it sounds exciting, but what level do you have to be at these classes? Can you be like the beginner that never touched a gun before?
Yeah. I get that actually a lot. I get two types of people. Because everyone, when you touch a pistol, everyone thinks they know how to shoot. Because they're like, oh, I know, and then just to find out, you know how to hit a piece of paper target size from like 7 yards away. But really, what does that mean? When it's pouring down rain, like one of our first courses, while we were still out there training, man, like half those guys just immediately were just barely hitting, paper from there, to like, now we're going to start speeding you up. So guys who have some experience to guys have zero experience, we're going to bring you, especially on pistol one or rifle one or any of that stuff, we're going to bring you up to speed, and we're going to tailor and individualize that training for you. So if you come in there and you compete in 2-gun, 3-gun, well, we're going to take you and we're going to run you so that until you're challenged. So that's why that what we do at Polaris is that we specifically tailor and individualize you to bring you up to speed, regardless on how well you're trained, how little exposure or some exposure, and you're gonna for pistol one or rifle one, you're gonna pass. For pistol one, you're gonna pass the Marine Corps pistol standard for the U.S. MC pistol qualification course of fire. You're gonna pass that verbatim for the Marine Corps. So, like, whoever you are from your walks of life, that is a grading criteria you're going to go. And then for advanced pistol, we're going to go and we're going to do different special operations qualifications course of fire from pistol and CQB, or close quarters combat and techniques. And you're gonna pass those ones. And we're gonna do it for like 2 to 3 hours. We're gonna bring you up to speed and teach you that. So. We take basic shooters who have some kind of information on it, or who've never even touched a gun. And we just ran 2 classes just like, 3 days ago, and we had guys who never really shot before. Besides, hey, I shot rifles, but I never shot pistols. To we had law enforcement guys who brought their wives who never really touched a gun at all, and we were able to, in 3 hours, get them to pass. They get 3 attempts, but they were able to eventually pass the Marine Corps pistol qualification course of fire. And that's only because we have decades of experience on teaching those. Like, I'm certified through the DoD, through the Marine Corps as a pistol, rifle, and sniper instructor through there, through what used to be called Blackwater. I've been to their marksmanship instructor for pistol, rifle, and then I went to their sniper instructor course, and then I do it for the Army Special Forces, and then my bud, my COO, Josh, he also is an Army Special Forces weapons sergeant, so now we're teaching all aspects of everything. So we have decades of experience of instructing, and I'm an instructor on all the various different schoolhouses I've seen in different realms I've seen it in, and then we're going to tailor it to you so we get you up to speed.
Yeah, I spoke with Josh a while back, and he said something to me, and I thought it was very interesting, because for the audience, you could have as many guns as you want, but if you don't know how to shoot them, it means nothing.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to use them, have the fundamentals. So he's like, man, just go pick out one gun that really sits well with you, and then you invest in lessons to train, develop, and get good at it, so that when you're just not a person walking around with a handgun, you're someone that's qualified to have that gun and be confident with that gun. And based on what you're saying, you could get that from this course. Now, where is this course being done at?
Yeah, currently we're teaching, at least once a month, but in Texas, right outside of Todd Mission. I think it actually qualifies as Plannersville, but it's Renaissance Shooting Club. So right now, Adam is the owner, and we have an awesome deal and relationship with him. We go and teach multiple times a month, or it's really like as long as if you and 5 of your friends come together, we'll start a class for 5 people and above. So we try to at least put 1 or 2 a month on the schedule, and we fill it up that way. We also, if you and 5 of your friends wanted to go on like a Wednesday, just you let us know a date. We'll plan it out, and then we'll reserve the range for that day, and we'll run a whole entire course that day. So
Now, for some of the audience that may have companies or they want to do a company function, how would that work out?
yeah, that's actually an awesome thing that Josh Walton, my COO, he started doing. He started doing a network event every month at Renaissance Shooting Club. And now if you own a company, if you own a nonprofit, whatever, we'll meet up there. And he linked it in with the Houston Chamber of Commerce. And now there's a massive networking event that you get to intermingle with and whatever. And then if you own a company too, like we're always like seeing on TV about active shooter training and all this other stuff like that. Like Polaris, like we'll take your company. You could write off as security training and everything there. And now you're gonna have more well-trained individuals who feel comfortable in a work environment. And if the active shooter, which we've been seeing on the news, keeps stemming up, now you'll have people who are safe by having well-trained individuals. And we'll tailor that event, and we'll just train them how to shoot and feel comfortable around guns. And it's an awesome business event that they could write off for the company. Like, you always have these mandatory like barbecues that you have to force your guys to go to, and sometimes it's cool or okay, but a day on the range, and now everyone gets to learn, be a more lethal, effective, not just warfighter, but like a protector, and they don't have to walk around in fear. Now that they learned a skill, they honed in if they had a skill previously, and it's a fun time to a great place to network and, like I said, have a family event or a work type event.
Man, it sounds like a great place to have the Marine Corps birthday one day.
That would be awesome.
All the veterans.
I would love to. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
if they're veterans, or they're still
Adam,
active, yeah.
Adam is a Marine too.
Oh, that's
He served. I think in the 90s or something.
Now, I know we mentioned a couple of the courses, but there is also, and I believe you mentioned, a sniper course that we would have the opportunity to take advantage of too, if we're interested.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to try to do it in April. Right now I'm trying to lock down a spot where I can get at least 800 meters and plus, so we can really take it out there. I think I identified a spot. I just have to confirm it, and then I'm going to teach. And the bad thing is it's going to be long days, but I have to give you guys due diligence. I'm going to jam in 40 hours of instruction. And like I said, I teach annually at the Army Special Forces Sniper School. So some of my students are British SAS snipers, Army Green Berets, Army Rangers, to Marine Special Operators, to Marine Scout snipers. It's not just sniper school. It's an advanced special operations sniper school. Wow. It's very high level one. And then I taught at Army Basic Sniper School, as the first Marine to ever go there and teach there. And I've been teaching pre-sniper, a 2-week course that you have to hit every verbatim 3.5 month long school event in sniper school, and you have to pass all these events in 2 weeks. So I'm teaching this stuff 24/7 for like last 15 years, and then I did it at Blackwater. I'm certified to as a sniper instructor. I went to their sniper school. I went to their sniper instructor school, and I've done tours with them in Iraq as a sniper. So I had this myriad of experience in there and teaching in all these different realms of it, and I'm going to jam it into your head from you buying a hunting rifle or maybe a sniper rifle that you built, and we're going to take your gun, and at 40 hours of instruction and practical application, one of my big things is that you will walk away from that course being able to ring seal targets out at 800 meters without a spotter with that gun that you brought to the course.
Now, for anyone that's curious, is there when you think about that situation, are we looking at 308? Are we looking at what would be your preferred?
Yeah. So that's a hard one because it's biased. I love 308 because I always say, I get this a lot, because everyone's in the 6.5 Creedmoor days, but like nothing has put more bodies in the dirt than 308 in American wars and everything from there. So like, I love it. It's the sniper round of choice for like decades and decades. I love it because I'm so intimately familiar with it, but I like as these new Wazoo rounds come out, like 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.8 Creedmoor, to the 300 Win Mag, 300 Norma. Then there's the 338 Lapua. Yeah. There's the 338 Norma. There's all this various different ones coming out. I don't have my heart sewn on it, but you always go back to the gold standard of the 308. So I would like to explore the other ones. So if someone came to my course, I'd say, hey, get a 308 and up. If you bring a 5.56, yeah, we'll hit out to 800. I'm going to try, depending on how you brought that gun. Just like if you had a HK416, which is what the Marine Corps uses as a DM rifle and all that. I love that gun. Free floating barrel, holds almost like a 2 minute of angle, all that. But we'll still ring. We'll push that gun as long as it's decently built. We're gonna push that thing to its end, to the farthest of its capabilities, and we're gonna hit steel out to 800. I've done it tons of times with the what they call the IAR or the HK416. But like I said, 308, easy day. If you have a 6.5 Creedmoor, right when you pass 308, it gets even easier because of flatter trajectory. You're able to punch through penetration through the wind. And so when I tell you 800 meters, like, hey, that's a sure thing. Like, well, we're gonna hit 1,000, but I'm confident saying that after 40 hours of instruction and you just sitting on the range and receiving tons of former blocks of instruction on how to manipulate the wind, how to manipulate the turret, how to understand mils and minutes of angle, and how to do all this other stuff like that, and then shooting positions and various different shooting positions, you will effectively be able to do rounds on target without a spotter with that gun that you brought and manipulate the scope to get those rounds on target at 800 meters.
Nice. So. Now, I want to make sure that in case there are questions out there, if I understand this right, they could get certified through Polaris, through all the courses, and they could technically be ready if there was a situation that occurred and they wanted to be part of that, and they are certified through you guys. They have the opportunity to feel the pull of God and go do that with you guys.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I advertise at Polaris is like, man, and it's the best way because like otherwise I got, when we started up Polaris and I told you we had some Navy SEALs, some Green Berets and whatever, I had to fire like, 3 or 4 of them, and some of the guys were from, Dev Gru SEAL Team 6, but because they just weren't morally and ethically up to par where I needed to be. Like I said, one of our main motto that we developed Polaris on was that our moral compass always points true north. And when you're doing rescues and precision personnel rescues in these dark depth places of human hell, and you're seeing some of the atrocities that other human beings are doing, I need that assured ethical and moral compass to be pointing towards true north. And that's why one of the things that you said earlier, that's why I surround myself with good, strong Christian men so that I don't I don't reign too far away from what's true. Because we came from fallen men and we live in a fallen world, and we'll only always go back to corruption and deceitful hearts and lies and have the enemy in us. We need to surround ourselves with good, strong Christian men. And if you are qualified or would like to seek qualification, go to our courses, and I know that I now know who I'm training. Like if I get a guy who said, "Oh, I did some time in Ranger Regiment," and I'm like, "Well, that doesn't really help." And like you can hit the objective, you can do a raid on a town, but we're not doing that, you know.
Yeah.
So how can I get these guys to think like a PJ motto, like a the Air Force PJ, because that's what we do. We go in and do that stuff. So I'm gonna teach you how to do it. When you go to all of our courses, now I know everything you know, and I've seen you, and I've watched. I know now your strong points, where you're lacking. I now know the basis of knowledge we're going to. We do advanced special reconnaissance and reconnaissance surveillance courses to all this other stuff and now we do various different offensive, defensive driving skills to everything that I could possibly that I've experienced and I've done, and that and we're gonna teach it out and build these teams. So like if you're just going just to learn and get the knowledge, like I applaud that, and I think everyone should. Now, I can't say, oh, you're going to part of the team. If you go through all of our courses, I'm going to put you on a QRF status because I know, and I've saw how you operate, and I said you're eligible to, because if you're still that person who is morally and ethically not there, why would I bring someone on the objective who is a massive liability to me, my like everyone else, to the kids, to the people we're going to saving, or just doing work like that,
Yeah.
So.
And I guess the last thing would be, if you want to share with them, how would they go? Would they go online? Would there is a site right now that they could go to, or is there something that they could contact you? How would that work?
Yeah. So one thing I always try to point people towards is you can go to one of our websites is going to be is under construction right now. We have our federal and government website that is it's for federal contracts. So I'll give you that so you can link it into the bottom one. Also, you can go to the Heroes for Humanity, our nonprofit that we do, and that you can contact that website and social media through the Instagram of Heroes for Humanity. It's very active, and that's the nonprofit who it's just volunteers who do exactly what I said, who go out and do, who are obedient to God, go out and do their called purpose and use the specialized skills. I specifically usually get veterans, special operations veterans, and first responders, to include nurses, and I try to, if they feel the call to serve, like, let's use your skills and talents to serve the Lord, and let's go and rescue people. Let's provide medical aid. Let's provide humanitarian assistance. Let's do that. If we can get a government contract to go and do that in a certain country, then by all means, we'll do it through Polaris, and that's how we get our missions through there. If we can't, then those kids, those people, they don't care who pays for them. They still need help. So then we'll go through Heroes for Humanity side, we'll raise donations, and we'll do it out of the goodness of our heart. None of us get paid. I don't get paid. We're all volunteers. 100% of all donations go to mission essentials only, and we do it because it's the right thing to do. Why? Because in order for evil to prevail, good men must stand by and do nothing.
Well, I was about to go into Heroes for Humanity, but you went there already. So is there anything else that you would like to share about Heroes for Humanity that you really want to just punch through? Because what my understanding is, it's men and women that you pick to go on these missions, and a lot of the whatever donations that come in, that's really technically for resources, because they're not taking a dime of that. And that's why anyone listening to this right now, if you heard this whole podcast and you have a call in your heart right now, and you understand that you may have a calling, and it may not be in the field. It may be somewhere where you have the ability to give donations or give something so Dennis and his team can go help and save someone. This is your opportunity to do that. This is where it starts right now, and it can't be done alone. So if you're watching this, we will link something on the bottom for you to go to and donate. And let's just remember, this is all in God's work. He gets the glory for everything. But like Dennis mentioned, there's somebody out there that needs to be rescued. We could either sit by and do nothing, or we can make the decision and do something. And I know some of you watching this have the ability to do that. So today's that day. So I'm so fired up because I will be the first one to put the first step forward, and I would like you to follow me afterwards. So Dennis, I have something for you. It's a donation from Faith Family Grind EDC to Heroes for Humanity, and it is a donation of $500 to your everything that you represent. And I want to give that personally to you because I believe in the mission. I believe in you. I believe what God's doing with you. I've been talking about since the day I met you, and I know this is going to create something that's going to save someone's life. And there's so many out there. You could start with one person. One person is all it takes, but I know you are the right person. And through your stories you shared with us today, Dennis, I mean, God's hands on you. God's work is being done through you and the people that you're using to help you do this. And I believe that right now, if you're listening to this, this is your opportunity to do what I just did. Step forward. Don't hold back. Don't wait another day. Don't wait another minute. You go to the link and you donate. And let's save someone's life today. Anything else, Dennis, you want to share?
Well, first, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No worries.
It's gearing up for our big mission by the end of the year that we're, like I briefly told you, that we're doing a massive providing medical aid. So I can't thank you enough. One thing I would say is what, me and you spoke on the phone like 3 months ago or something like that, where like people think that I have to donate this massive thing or I don't have that. Like, we talked about, it's like, man, where if I could just get like 5 or 10 people just to donate and just commit on a reoccurring monthly basis or like a paycheck, like just $50. Like I go to the gas station almost every day, just at a whim and don't even blink when I go get an energy drink, like at least once a day, boom, I go get a coffee or whatever. If you could sacrifice just that drink a day, like that's already, that's $5 for, let's say for 30 days, that's $150 right there. Like, I'm just asking, like, if you could just sacrifice, $50 a paycheck or like $50 a month on a reoccurring and set that up through the PayPal of reoccurring, man, if we had 10 of those, like, our mission would be paid for at the end of this year. We're trying to get $30,000 to go and provide all this massive medical supplies and treat for 3 weeks to include planes, safe houses, food, all this other stuff. And I think we could do it. Having 4 to 6 people out there, I think we could do it for about 30 grand. So that's what we're trying to. And like I said, we're all volunteers, but like if it's, you don't win football by throwing massive Hail Mary to Hail Mary. It's just small, steady steps. It's the widow's mite that we truly do amazing missions with. So if you guys please go down to the link and set up a reoccurring donation of $50, a month. At least, like if we just had 10 of those, man, we would just do so amazing things. And for what? Sacrificing a energy drink, 2 weeks out of the month for someone to live here today, for someone to, like, people are being genocided to perform medical aid assistance. When you hear $50, you're like, you look at it as a dollar value in your bank and you're like, well, but if you were to say, I go to the store every day and swing by and just grab an energy drink or a bag of chips, and the amount of money that you throw away on stuff like that, but you'll second guess and squeeze pennies on when it comes to helping, people live or whatever. Sure. So if I can please just emphasize that, like the reoccurring $50 a day, $50 a paycheck thing, it goes so tremendously far, and it's what keeps the lights on for equipment to the legal fees and all this other stuff, and then slowly builds up by the end of the year. Now we have our mission, because like I told you yesterday at dinner, like we specialize in atrocities. And the worst part is there's no shortage of atrocities. War sells, peace does not, and atrocities are happening every day around the world. And we are working in 7 different countries at Heroes for Humanity, and we are so overpacked full of missions, real world missions everywhere. But we can't do it because, like, or we try to do as much as we can. I work 4 jobs so I can do this stuff, so that I try to donate and try to run all these finances, and we try to do all this other stuff so that we can do it. But if only people, like I said, then the more lives we could affect. People who go to church and tithe, it says that you're supposed to give 1/10 of your earnings to God. We're not asking for any of that stuff. We're just asking if you're looking for a place to tithe, if you are truly looking for a place to donate or something that that people are going to do amazing things and all for free and volunteer because it's the right thing to do and that's what God calls us to do, then please donate to us, and we're going to do amazing things with that $50 that doesn't mean anything to us, but is going to eventually build up to this massive mission, to ongoing missions, to all that stuff.
Well, you guys heard it here. This is an opportunity right now. If you hear the passion in Dennis's voice, he has the ability to do the missions. He has the ability and the people to do the missions. All we have to do is step up and do our part and go down to the link, donate, and I'm going to watch every day, and I'm going to see how many of you really have that calling from the Lord to do something. I always love what Dennis is saying. Evil prevails when good men stand by and do nothing. And that's men and women, not just men. Anybody can have an opportunity to change the world, help somebody, save a life, and it takes a second to do it by going onto that link and donating. I'm looking forward to seeing that get to where it needs to be by the end of this year. But we appreciate you being on Faith Family Grind EDC, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Never lose focus. Thank you.
Thank you.